Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today we are going to be using the Flora and Fauna 3 set from W+9. This has been out for a while. I have had it for a hot minute and I have just not had time to get around to using it, but I'm super excited about it because I loved Flora and Fauna 1 and 2. 3 does not disappoint. It's beautiful images. This whole release was stunning. And so I'm going to do a one layer card. No big shock. I made this card a couple of weeks ago when I was kind of in a crafting drought, and I really just wanted to sit down and color something pretty. That's how I picked the set. That's how I came up with my card design. And so I kind of laid everything out. That's what you saw in the beginning. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp down my butterflies that need to be masked, because I'm going to stamp the floral image on top of it. Vice versa, if you aren't into one layer card, you could totally stamp the flowers down and then die cut out the butterflies and put them on top. That would look beautiful and give you lots of kind of like lift and texture to your card. I used Eclipse masking tape for my masks for this one, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cover those up so that I can stamp this gorgeous floral kind of spread. I'm making this in summer, but it feels very spring to me. And how I picked the color combination with kind of like the blues and the oranges and the whites. I had made a card quite some time ago with this same color combination. And then the company that I used actually went out of business before I got the video posted. So I never really shared it because I didn't want to share something that you couldn't purchase. I know how frustrating that can be. And so I was excited to kind of come back to this color combination and give it another go. Plus, blue is my boyfriend. You know that. So here, I'm just stamping that on top of the butterflies, but they're protected by the masks. I remove the mask, and this is kind of what we're left with. I chose the B20 family because it's more of like a true blue color. I also very much like the B like 00, 02, 04, 06 family, but I was not, that kind of bright light blue is not what I was looking for. So we're just going to get right into the coloring. That's pretty much, that's pretty much what this whole video is. I hope you want to learn something about Copic coloring. I like to start with my lightest color, work out to my darkest, and then from my darkest back into my lightest. You'll see that I leave a lot of white area as my highlight, and that's just because I'm super heavy-handed with my dark colors. Everybody, like, you kind of learn your own coloring style as you go, but I know that I'm heavy-handed with my dark colors, and so I have to start with my lighter ones. There isn't a right or a wrong way to do it, whatever works for you. And then I'm using the guidelines that Dawn, who is the owner of W+9, who's endlessly talented, has kind of given me. So the folds in the flower, the little lines that are drawn there, I'm just highlighting those and accentuating them. Sometimes I'm making them a little bit longer, but that's going to give me lots of texture in my card or in my coloring, and that's really what I'm going for. You certainly don't need to do that. It all just depends on what kind of look you want. And I just like a little bit more dimension in my coloring. That's just me. So anyway, what's been going on in life? We are 7 months pregnant at this point. I told my husband the other day, I was like, 7 months pregnant is too much pregnant. It felt like 6 months was a milestone, but I am getting more uncomfortable now that I am at 7 months, which I think is why God's like, your last trimester will only just be a little while, because he knows that we're just so uncomfortable. And I have not, as of right now, like I haven't gained a ton of weight. Like, I think they recommend 25 to 30 pounds, which, like, God love you if you could get pregnant and gain 25 to 30 pounds, because I have not, I have not been able to do that. With Peanut, I gained 45 pounds, and I just had so much to lose after after I had him. So I tried to be super conscientious this time around. And not that it doesn't mean that I didn't have cravings. For example, I was super into pickles for like my whole first trimester. And then like just salty things. I just really wanted very salty things. Like potato chips and pickles and cheese sticks. But that doesn't mean that I gave up my sweet things either, because I still ate the cookies. Y'all, I did. But so I did try to make good choices, and plus I'm more active now than I was when I was pregnant with Nathan. First of all, they're very different pregnancies. If you have more than one child, then you probably can relate to that they aren't really the same. I was super sick with Nathan. It was not a good time. I had a really hard time breathing. I had terrible allergies. That symptom did come back around. It kind of just stayed with me, for the last 8 years. It just kind of stayed with me. And then it did not cease with this current pregnancy. But right about now, so at 7 months, I'm sitting at about 30 pounds. Obviously, this child will gain more weight as our third trimester progresses, so I will not be topping out at 30 pounds. I'll probably get closer to the 45 that I was with Peanut, but it is what it is. Like, as long as we have a healthy baby, then I'll work on the rest of it after it's over. So we are there. This child is substantially less active than Nathan was, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. But now that we're into the third trimester, they're definitely more noticeably active than they were before, which I appreciate, which my mom worries appreciate. So we've had that going on. We did have, I don't even want to call it a complication, because that makes it sound like this huge thing, and it's not this huge thing. So we went with Peanut, and now remind you, this is almost a decade ago. I had ultrasounds like in my doctor's office pretty regularly, and with him, the placenta was very low, and so they were worried about me having placenta previa. And so we got a couple of extra ultrasounds just to make sure that the placenta was growing up and out of the way enough that wasn't going to be an issue, that we were going to have to do a cesarean, which it did, and we didn't have any issues. But that was one of the things that they were just looking at. With this baby, when we went in, so we got our ultrasound at whatever, like the 12 or 16 weeks, whatever it is. And then, no, it had to be like 8. Why can I not remember this? Pregnancy brain is real, y'all. I forget stuff all the time. We must have been 8 or 10 weeks. Yeah, because we went for our first appointment. They wouldn't let me make my first appointment until I was 8 weeks. And so like 8 to 10 weeks, we must have went for our first ultrasound. And then we went back for our 20-week ultrasound. And during the 20-week ultrasound, everything looked really good. 10 fingers, 10 toes, the whole deal. But they didn't notice a slight complication with our umbilical cord. Traditionally, an umbilical cord is 3 vessels. So two arteries and 1 vein for the nutrients to come in and out for the baby. Ours is a 2-cord umbilical cord, which means we have 1 artery and we have 1 vein. This puts us at a slightly higher risk for birth defects, and also puts us at a slightly higher risk for low birth weight. And so it's just something that they want to watch, because at the same time that the placenta is formed, the baby's heart and kidneys are also formed. Now, they did not see anything on the ultrasound that looked abnormal as far as cardiac or kidney function, but we do have to have another ultrasound at 30 weeks just to double check. Got to go back to the card. So I did the flowers blue. I knew I wanted to do my butterflies like kind of a bright orange to bring in that color. And I like to do my oranges with a combination of yellow and orange. It just makes them a little bit more bright. But if you have a special yellow or a special orange combination that you like, by all means, feel free to use it. I just like combining the two. And I'm going to color them all the same exact way, with the orange more towards the center of the body and the brighter yellow more towards the tips. So that's pretty much all to be said about those. So anyway, the doctor was really good about it. He was like, I just want to be clear, like, there's nothing wrong with your baby. It's just the umbilical cord. And then when we went for our checkup after that ultrasound with our regular doctor, because you just talk to the doctor, whoever's, on call for the ultrasound, when you get that done. When we talked to her, she had said that their report was that there was no seen abnormalities. And so that was very good news. The other thing that was very good news is at 20, I think our ultrasound was actually at 22 weeks. The baby was weighing 1.3 pounds, which put us in the 85th percentile. So they were already weighing more than most babies their gestational age. So again, that is super good news. And then just from there, she was like, we'll just measure you every time that you come in. And if for some reason you're ever measuring short, we'll send you for your ultrasound right away. Because that's a long time to wait, right? Like 10 weeks to see if there's any, issues. Back to the card. So here, I wanted there to be some texture on my leaves. So I filled it in with my lightest color, and then I started just doing flicks of color from the inside out and then from the outside in. And I'm not going to do much to blend back over this because I really wanted that texture to kind of be pronounced in the leaves so they didn't look super flat. And I colored all of them the same way. So every doctor's appointment that we have had since then, we have measured spot on for where we're supposed to be as far as size, for what the, like your uterus should be measuring, which is all very good news. The heart rate's always been good, everything like that. So it's just another thing to worry about, I guess. But then, the doctor told us, like, we see this all the time. We actually have friends that also had this same kind of situation. And their daughter was born a little bit smaller. She was born at like 6 pounds, 7 ounces or something. But her parents are small people. Like, I think she is maybe like 4 foot and he is maybe like 5. He'd probably be so mad at me if he heard me say this. Like 5'3". It sounds really bad to say 5'3". He's not a tall man. So it doesn't really surprise me that their baby is smaller. They're smaller individuals. But so we did know somebody who had it. They haven't had any, birth defects or complications or anything like that, which is, makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, it is what it is. One of the things that we talked about, back to the card. So I wanted to color these little they're not teeny, but these little flowers white. And so I'm just doing that with my C markers. It did look a little bit gray to me because it was white on, like, gray shading on white paper. And so I am going to add a little bit of a background to kind of combat that. But I like adding in a neutral into these really bright colors to just kind of ground the overall card. Yeah, they have what was I saying? They had a baby that was a little bit smaller, but they're smaller people. That is true. So one of the things that they talked about was whether or not we were going to do the genetic testing. And this is no judgment on anybody else. We opted not to do the genetic testing originally. And, he was like, that's no reason for you to change your mind. It's, it is what it is. And for us, like, we're going to have whatever baby with whatever they have that God chooses to give us. And that's all kind of our feeling on it. And so doing the genetic testing isn't going to, the way that it was explained to us is that, so they would test my blood to see if I carried any of the genetic markers. And they can't even test for all of them, by the way. They just test for the, I guess, most common ones. So they test my blood, see if I carry any of the markers for it. If I do, then they would test Eric's blood to see if he carried any of the markers for it. If he does, then we would still only have a 50-50 shot of our child having whatever the genetic abnormality is. So why would I? And again, this is no judgment on anybody who has done it. Everybody's in, different situations and needs different things. But I am a worrier. I know that I'm not supposed to be, but I am. And so just for me, I was like, I cannot just be worried about something that we have a 50-50 shot of getting, because it's not going to change the fact that, like, this child is going to be my child and I will love it and care for it and do whatever the needs, meet whatever needs are required. So we opted not to do it. And then even after finding out about the 2-cord umbilical cord, we still chose not to do the genetic testing. And so that's just kind of where we're at with it. It is uplifting to know, like, that every time that we go in, first of all, that our I won't say that our baby's fat, but our baby was measuring in the 85th percentile. So just for some perspective, you guys have heard me talk multiple times about my goddaughter. When she was born at 30 weeks, she weighed 1.3 pounds. So at 30 weeks, she weighed what our child weighed at 22 weeks, and she was born at that weight because my best friend had low amniotic fluid and the baby was in distress, and so they had to do an emergency C-section. And she is a perfectly functional, totally adorable, super sassy, sweet little 7-year-old now. She did have to do like physical therapy and things like that to kind of catch her up. But once she was done with that, she is, functions and plays and everything else as any other child her age. So that is kind of uplifting to know that, just that she was born at that weight and it was fine. And we are clearly already past that weight, because that was, almost 10 weeks ago, because we'll be 30 weeks at the end of the month. So yeah, having babies is stressful. Having babies is stressful, y'all. And it's not even like here, like on the outside where they're screaming at you, which they do. But you love them anyway. So for like the detail part of it, you can see I added the blue in the background to kind of help that white pop a little bit. And then, I used my white gel pen to add some details, like dots to the center of the blue flowers. And then I'm also going to use it to add some details to the like the stamen of the white flowers, and I'm going to jazz up my butterflies a little bit with just adding a little bit of detail with my white gel pen. They're beautiful butterflies on their own. You certainly don't have to do this, but it was something that I chose to do because, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I was very much just kind of in a crafting drought, and I was looking to just sit down and color something that I enjoyed coloring for no other reason than to just de-stress and to color, which no matter how many design teams you're on, no matter how many companies you work for, no matter how many, maybe if you do this as a business, how many orders you have coming in, like I hope that you still find time to do it for the love of it and to give yourself a break, because I still try to make sure that I find time to do that, and it helps immensely. So just going to go through and add all of those fun little details. With this one, did I outline it? I can't remember. I've kind of gotten out of the habit, and I don't really know how that happened because I love a bold outline. Maybe just with time constraints, because we're trying to hustle this stuff in the garage before the baby arrives and still, do other things that we enjoy doing. So I don't know if that's why I've gotten out of the habit of it, but yeah, I don't know if I outlined it or not. I guess we're going to find out together here in the next couple of minutes. But I chose not to put a sentiment on this particular card. One, because it was really just for, the pleasure of doing it. and 2, it's a good is a good neutral card. Which could be used for a lot of things. It could be used for a sympathy card. It could be used for a thinking of you card. It could be used for a hello card, for a happy birthday card, congratulations. Like, it's just a good, versatile image. So good on W+9 for that. And so I just wanted to leave it kind of blank for in case I needed it in the future for something, I could just put a sentiment on it at that time. Oh, and see here, I did outline it. So I did stay a little true to myself. I know some of the other ones that I've made recently, I haven't really taken the time to outline them, but I must have been in the zone or had extra time today because I did. That was kind of poor editing on my part. My apologies. So that's it. That's the whole card. The Flora and Fauna 3 set does have dies that match it if you are interested in those, and they are in stock in the W+9 store. And I hope that you will head over and check that out and check out the rest of the release, which is also amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.